All right, hey everybody, it's the Always Be Cool podcast with Bobby and Darren, BK and DC, hanging out with our great buddy, Mr. Jamie Bluma.
Welcome to the show, buddy.
Man, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the invite. I've been
yeah,
watching
man.
all the other ones, hoping that I'll get the call. And I got the call.
Got called up.
You did.
Bring him in.
You're ready to go. You're used to that.
Good.
You're used to that. Right on, man. Well, hey, I'll start with a quick intro,
Yeah,
and then
do.
we'll get rocking from there. So, Mr. Jamie Bluma, born May 18th, 1972 in Beaufort, South Carolina, grew up in Owasso, Oklahoma.
Yep.
Tulsa area, right?
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about Owasso from a baseball standpoint.
That's
at some
awesome.
point.
Former Major League pitcher, pitched 17 games for the Royals in 1996. Perfect 5 for 5 in save chances. Drafted in 94 in the third round by KC. Member of the Sports Hall of Fame at Wichita State University. Very cool. Still holds the school records in saves and appearances. 3 times College World Series participant. Twice in championship game. 18 and a third innings, postseason of college baseball, only gave up 1 earned run.
That's a good story, too, the one
Right.
on
We're going to have a bunch of good stories, man. Red, White, and Bluma is your charitable organization raising hundreds of thousands of dollars, has a passion for helping veterans, and overall just one awesome dude. Jamie Bluma, welcome to the show, buddy.
Yeah. It's funny to hear all of that. You forget
Right.
all the things that you did.
We actually we do a lot of research.
You don't wake up every day and say that to yourself?
No, I don't.
Jamie, we actually do more research now than what we did like in high school and college.
Same here. Yeah. I am no longer the saves leader nor the appearances leader of Wichita State. I've been passed. Actually, my little brother
man.
broke my saves record after I had left.
I did see
And
that.
then Noah Booth, who Wichita State guy, he broke the all-time appearances record.
You know, that's pretty
Credit
cool.
where credit's due.
You've got,
Right.
Yeah.
you and your 2 brothers, all 3 attended
Correct.
Wichita State and
Yeah.
played baseball, right?
Yes, older brother was on. So we all have our own little niche. Like older brother won a national championship
Right.
in '89. Then I went to 3 College World Series and obviously got a chance to pitch professionally and then pitch in the big leagues. Then my little brother was there and was in the College World Series, and then he was a 2-time All-American. I was never an All-American. I had Darren
wow.
Dreifert. I had Darren Dreifert in the same bullpen.
Right, I remember.
So he got all the
that's-
all the
Wasn't he
stuff. It
drafted
was fun.
like second overall behind
yeah.
A-Rod?
Yep, A-Rod and then Darren in '93.
Wasn't Darren quite the hitter back in the day, too?
So he was. He didn't hit a ton as a freshman, but
Yeah.
he was always a talented guy. And then his junior year, he ended up hitting 22 home runs that season. And the crazy thing about it is he had 11 of them in the postseason.
Wow.
So between the Valley tournament, the regional, we didn't do super regionals back then, and the World Series, he had 11.
Well,
And so that got us all the way to the national championship game in '93,
That's amazing.
which
Well,
we lost to LSU for the second time because we did that in '91 as
Did
well.
they have Lyle Mouton?
They did. Yep. I still
remember
talk to
that.
Lyle. Yeah, a lot of
Really?
those guys. Yeah, we've all kept in touch. Actually, funny story with the College World Series just going on. Todd Walker,
Yeah.
who was on a bunch of those teams. Todd's son is actually playing at Louisiana Tech, who Wichita State opened with this year.
Oh, wow.
And Todd does a ton of stuff for the SEC network. So he and I texting back and forth.
That's cool.
Rick Green was the closer on the '91 team. He and I keep in close contact. We actually played together in the Arizona Fall League. And then years ago, they used to have a celebrity softball game down in Baton Rouge to raise money for Two Seam Dream Foundation, which was Rick Green's thing, and had a ton of us. It was always
Right.
fun to go back because all I know is I'm just going to catch a bunch of hell from all the dudes down there because we could not beat them.
Isn't that the
91
fun
and
part, though?
93. Oh, yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
And those
'cause-
guys were good. Lyle Mouton,
Yeah.
Armando Rios, Chad
Yeah.
Auger.
yeah.
I mean, on and on and on. And we had dudes, too, you know, with Dreifert and Tyler Green and Casey Blake. And
Right.
We were, it was fun. I mean, it was fun. It was, sucked that we could never
Get
never
over
beat
the hump,
them. We
yeah.
couldn't get, we
Well,
couldn't
they were
get them.
decent.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they won 5 that decade.
Yeah, they were
with Skip
studs.
Bertman and that whole
Yeah, they
deal. So
were rock
kudos to them.
stars. Well, if
Yeah.
a lot of people don't remember, because you and I are basically the same age, just a few months apart, but man, back in the day, Wichita State was just an absolute juggernaut.
So between '82, they went to the World Series in '82, and I've seen replays lately. That's when they got caught on the hidden ball trick. So that was Phil Stevenson, Gene's brother. They played for the national championship then and lost to Miami. And then they went to the World Series in '88, '89, '91, '92, '93, '96. And so of those 7, we were one
Your
of
brothers,
the we're 6 of them.
Dude,
So,
that's incredible.
Yeah. And then another crazy tie-in that you guys don't know, watching the College World Series, you know Kyle Peterson, that does the play-by-play for
okay.
ESPN.
Yeah.
His dad and my dad graduated high school together in Arlington, Nebraska, population 1,200. So actually, Kyle and I met at the '88 College World Series.
You're
He was
sitting in stands
14. He
watching.
was 14. I was 16, and our dads were high school
Crazy.
classmates.
Wow.
He ended up going to Stanford, and then made it to the big leagues with the Brewers.
Right.
And now he does what he does, college baseball, ESPN. So it's always fun to chit-chat with him and all that stuff. So, yeah, crazy to tie it all full circle.
Right.
Knowing you a little bit, you strike me as a person that in college you may have lived a little bit and didn't just lock yourself in a dorm room or an apartment and do some studying.
So that's what I say. So both my brothers were academic All-Americans, and I was not an academic All-American, but I give them crap that I actually left my apartment.
Yeah. And you made the big.
So, yeah, so we had a good time. So.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Well, one of the funny stories I remember way back in the day, I think it was one of the first Royals fantasy camps that I went to. And you were down there. This is like 10 years ago, right? And you remember Michael Chu?
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely.
Chu's like 29 years old. And I think you guys kept him out to like 3 or 4 in the morning
That's
or
been
something
known to
like
happen
that.
at camp.
Yeah,
Right.
just
Yeah.
rumors, right?
Yeah, sure.
Whataburger might have been involved. I don't know, right? But
Also a distinct possibility.
this dude looked green the next day. Like he was in bad shape. But
So I'll tell a story, and I won't name names, but that happened. So we always go to the Moon Saloon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was under construction last year, so we weren't able to take the guys that first night.
Right.
So we took a guy that I knew was going to be on my team, and we got out of the van, get back to the hotel, whatever time it was, and he threw up when we got out of the hotel. And the next morning, he had 7 hits the next day in 2 games. I said,
This
"See,
wasn't
look, man,
VZ,
you
was
have
it?
no idea." No, I'm not going to say who it was.
Right, no.
I said, you never know what your body can handle until you put it to the test.
Exactly.
So yeah, you
Take
didn't
it to
know.
the limits.
You were thinking that you were going to have 7 hits when you're getting out of that van and throwing up all over the deal. No chance.
you're fine. You're fine.
So today we're going to talk obviously a little bit of baseball. We like to tie in a lot of stuff, adversity, talk about leadership, entrepreneurship, all the cool stuff that you're doing in the community. So we're going to kind of have a wide scope of stuff today. So let's kind of start at the beginning. So obviously you were, I know in DC's introduction, he mentioned you being drafted by the Royals in the 3rd round. You were actually drafted the year prior in the 7th round.
Correct.
By
Houston
the Houston
Astros.
Astros, right?
Astros.
Yeah, it was crazy. So their first round pick was Billy Wagner that year. So I had known Billy from the Cape and some things.
Wow.
And so I don't know what happened that year, but they didn't have a 2nd round pick. They lost it because of something. I can't remember the thing.
Wasn't banging on trash cans back
It wasn't then, no.
Lost
And
it for
I'll
some
have to go
reason.
back and look and see what it was. But I knew that they had some money laying around, and I knew I was a 7th rounder, and we had just gotten back from Omaha, and the regional scouting guy, the area guy, we just didn't get off on the right foot, and I ended up going home to my parents, and I just decided something doesn't feel right, and they backed out on an offer that they were going to offer me, and I was like, you know what? And I told my pitching coach, I said, I'm not going to sign. I'm going to come back. He's like, don't be jacking with me now. And I said, no, Shane Dennis and I. Shane's coming back too. He got drafted by, I think, Toronto. And so we just decided. So Darren Dreifert and I actually flew to Alaska, and we played in Alaska that summer in the Alaska Summer League. And
nice.
it turns out
I read
that my center fielder in Anchorage that summer, Rolando Avila, was the Astros' 13th rounder. And they kind of had treated him like crap, too. He was from a junior college in California, I think L.A. Harbor. And so neither one of us signed. And so I had a good summer, and I thought maybe when I come back for the NBC tournament, they might offer me, but they didn't, and that was fine. And then went back for my senior year. And
Tried to run it back a 4th time in the
well,
World
and
Series.
that was the whole thing, is nobody had ever gone 4 straight years. So Shane and I had talked about that. And we lost a lot of guys. We lost Dreifert. We had lost some dudes. But
So it meant quite a bit to the staff that you both came back.
Shane
like,
had
you guys were both planning on going to the bigs.
Well, to the minor leagues.
Getting drafted.
To sign. Right. Yeah, that was our plan. I'd had a great junior year. I think I'd gone like 6-1 with 10, 12 saves and a 1-something. So my thing was, what else do I have to prove in college?
Right.
I might as well go. But then the negotiations didn't work out like I thought they should. I was still a good student, too, and wanted to get that much closer to being able to graduate. And so it turned out to be the best decision. Now, I don't know if you know the story about when I got drafted by the Royals and my scout and all that stuff.
We actually want to hear that, because
Yeah.
did you have any
Sure.
inclination that, I mean, being so close proximity-wise to Kansas City, that you were going to get drafted by them?
No, I hadn't really talked to anybody. And going into the Valley tournament my senior year, I kind of pitched crap. Like, I had a bad outing. And so
Right.
I was like, man, that sucks, because I'd had such a good senior year. Jimmy Walker, not Jimmy J.J. Walker Dynamite, Jimmy Walker had pitched at KU. And he was a non-drafted junior and ended up being a 3rd-round senior 2 years before by the Orioles. I'm like, well, it can be done, but you really got to lock.
rare.
But you
Right.
got to be lights out. And I kind of stumbled right at the end, and I'm like, well, that's it. I'm going to get a bucket of chicken and a plane ticket and be a
Right.
10th rounder and go play. And that was it. So I was resigned to that fact, kind of. And so then We don't make it to the College World Series. We got beat out by Georgia Tech at home, and that's where I gave up the one postseason run.
Right,
Oh,
your
they
last outing.
Yeah, they brought me
Of
into
course.
a game against Georgia Tech, and I think I hit Jay Payton with the bases loaded in a game that I probably shouldn't have been in at
Right.
all. But so that ended up being the last outing of my
Oh, my
collegiate career.
gosh.
And
Right.
I still give Gene Stevenson crap on that one. Like, why was I even in the game? But
Right.
And so I'm not really sitting around waiting around on draft day, the first day. And there was no cell phones back then, so I'm sure we were
right.
out doing something.
Yeah.
And then I get a phone call the morning of the draft, like, "Hey, the Royals, we took you in the third round." It was
Shocked the house.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. Like,
Were-
oh my
were you
God.
pretty jacked?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ken Gonzalez and Dave Hickerson, who was the Valley Center head coach, was a bird dog. They're like, "Hey, we'll see you this afternoon, and we'll sit down." I'm like, that's outstanding. So,
Awesome.
So that's what happened. So we ended up at my apartment, and we were going over all the paperwork, and I'll vividly remember it now that Kenny wasn't feeling great. Like, I don't know what was going on. He didn't feel great. He was, kind of cranky, and it was my girlfriend at the time. It was her birthday, so I didn't end up going out to dinner with them. I ended up filling out all the paperwork for the thing, and
You couldn't sign quick enough, could you?
no, and I was ready to go, and they offered me, almost the same amount of money I'd been offered the year before, which was crazy as a senior.
Yeah,
right.
At the time, it was the largest senior sign of all time because you have no bargaining power.
Right.
It's $50,000, which doesn't seem like
You
much.
can't say I'm
but
going back
at
to
the time-
college.
right?
Yeah,
and
leverage.
so I go to dinner with the family and all that stuff, and don't go to dinner with and I get a phone call the next morning on a home phone again, no cell phones, and it was Dave Hickerson. He's like, "Hey, Bloom, I got some bad news. Kenny had a heart attack and died in his hotel room
Oh, my
last night."
gosh.
Like,
And you had just saw him a
the night
few
before.
hours.
The night before. Like, I said, "What does that mean?" And he's like, "You better go pitch your ass off," And
Right.
that was crazy. Like,
Wow.
that
You
was
were,
it.
you
2
were the
days.
last person that
Yeah.
signed a deal with
Yeah.
Gonzalez.
And he was the guy that, so he signed
drafted-
Bo Jackson.
Bo. I was
Yeah,
saying
he
he-
signed Bo. He was
yeah.
the one that had a relationship with Bo to get Bo. I mean, he was with
he
that
the
the
one that
relationship
hung
with
out
his
with
mom?
with his
Yes,
mom in
and
the
that
hotel?
that was Ken. And so
Wow.
Casey K's field was named after Ken Gonzalez at one point. Like he was, I didn't know him obviously until then. And he had, from what I heard, and he told me that night, he said, "We wanted to draft you the year before. We had the pick after Houston in the 7th.
Oh, no.
How crazy is that?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's why we
and
do
so
this.
that's
We
why
love
we
those
ended up
stories.
being. That's why we took you in the third, is because we really
wanted you the
really
year
they
before.
Yep. So we wanted to get you, and
Wow.
And
all
you probably would have signed in the 7th round if the Royals would have drafted.
Oh, I mean, if the negotiations were going well, absolutely, no
Yeah.
doubt about it.
Right.
So
Had you already started to build, had you had a relationship with Ken? Like,
no, I
Not
hadn't
at all?
talked. I had
So
not
that was
even
like-
talked to him.
wow.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's crazy.
Actually, I still have the sheet, his sheet, draft sheet on me. It's framed and at the house.
That's cool.
I'm not going
That-
to say how I
that's
got that. We'll leave that off.
Well,
But I have it, and it's
Like him
I mean,
grading you?
Yeah,
basically?
the whole
Wow,
thing. Yeah,
man.
yeah. It's I should take a picture of it and send it to you guys.
Oh, no, we're just going to come over
read
and see
about
it, man.
Yeah,
We're just going to
got
come over to
some
the
cool
house.
stuff at the house. Sure. Make sure we're
Right,
cleaned up.
exactly.
and we'll-
Right.
All right,
Yeah.
so speaking of scouts, so most everyone knows Art Stewart, right?
Sure.
Scout legend, Kansas City Royals legend. Rumor has it that you can do a pretty good impression of Art Stewart.
Yes.
Right?
So, all right. Quick backstory.
Okay.
Yes. So my pitching coach at college, Brent Kimnitz, was able to talk with a whistle, not knowing, obviously, we didn't even know who Art Stewart was. So that was one of his things, and he would say, "Sammy Sosa wears safety glasses in sunny St. Louis." So it goes, "Sammy Sosa wears safety glasses in sunny St. Louis." Spicy salsa. So
Spicy sauce.
So fast forward, my first day in Eugene, Oregon. So Ken Gonzalez dies. I get on a plane and fly to Eugene for a mini camp. Brian Polberg's my first manager. Crazy.
No kidding.
And so I'm hitting fungos to the infielders as a pitcher, and Art Stewart walks up to me. He's like, "Say, son, you got a nice sinker." Says, and I'm like, "Whoa, man, that's unbelievable!" Like I'm like
Making fun of Art Stewart
right to
basically
his
on day
face.
one.
At that time, he was probably 80, and I thought he was kidding around, but
No, that's how he
so
talks.
I'm
That was
like,
legit.
so I almost got released one day into my Royals
First day.
professional career because I'm making fun of our
Who's this smart-ass kid?
because how he talked. "Say, son, nice sinkers."
You got an ability to make a first impression. Tell the story. I've heard this story before, where you kind of had a habit of wearing your hat backwards.
So in Wichita State, I kind of got away with whatever. I mean, I would wear Zubaz pants during batting practice and whatever
Right.
crazy hat, like the umbrella hat. Or
Yeah.
we won. Like my pitching coach, Kimnitz, will say now, like, if you hadn't pitched good, I wouldn't have let you get away with all that crap. But you guys went out.
He gave you some slack to do some
so
stuff.
that was always the thing, having fun. And so that first day I'm shagging in the outfield, hat on backwards, airing it out, doing whatever, having a good time. And Brian Polberg walks up to me and right in my face, and he said, "Son, you need to find your face." And I'd already probably pissed off Art Stewart, so now I don't know what's going to happen next. And I'm like, find my face. Like, I don't know what that means. But I'm like, yes, sir.
What does that mean?
And he's like, pretty sure the bill of your cap covers your face.
Roger.
He said, I'm pretty sure Ken Griffey Jr. earned it. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So I never wore my hat backwards again. Not in professional baseball.
Right.
Yeah. So,
That's
things
that's
you don't
a great
know.
story.
It's a good heads up.
Just college stuff that you mean, and we had a good program, so we kind of thought we knew what was going on.
Sure.
And I used to think that Wichita State was good enough that we were the same as a AA team. That's what we thought.
Yeah.
That was
Right.
It's like a
untrue.
collegiate football program. You
Right.
think they can beat the NFL team.
So we're like, I would top 25 baseball. I would consider low A.
Okay.
Okay.
That's about because up and down the lineup, you're not going to have guys up and down the lineup. But,
Right. Exactly.
So, but back
Exactly.
then, Wichita State, we're pretty good. We're
Oh
like
yeah.
a double A
Oh
team.
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No,
We're
no,
legit.
I know.
Hey, speaking of stories, so I almost forgot about this. So fantasy camp 12, and then we didn't have 13, but
You remember the years way better than me. I'm just
I
so
do.
fortunate.
Because you're
that
hanging
I've
out
gotten
4 in the
to do
morning
things.
over it.
Hey, man,
You
everybody's
were in a
got their
fog.
niche. You got to stay in your lane. I know what I do well.
you were in a fog. But tell the story. So you, I believe, were heading to a pitching coach gig, and you came across an accident in 2013, right? And you actually helped some. You were like what, one of the first ones on scene?
So we saw it happen. We were actually coming back. I remember it vividly. It was KU versus Georgetown
Okay.
in Lawrence, and I had ridden up there with a gal, and we were on our way back. It was an ice storm. So we had finished the game. If you remember that ice storm that year, I don't know what year that was. 2000, I don't know.
2013.
Okay, there you go.
Right here on the notes.
Right here.
So we're coming back, and I remember we were at the wheel after the game. I'm having a beer with John Holt, and the weather's awful.
Okay.
And we both looked at each other like, if we don't get back to Kansas City now, we are all going to be stuck in Lawrence.
Right.
So we got to go. So got in the car, we're heading back. We're going down K10, obviously,
Yeah.
and we're going about 20 miles an hour. I mean, it is terrible weather.
Yeah.
And I look up, and going westbound is a truck spinning.
Oh my gosh.
And there's no middle
There's no
wire,
yeah, right.
like near Kill Creek. And I was like, oh my God, I hope that. And so to our left is a Honda CRV is passing us on the left going
Way
2
too
miles an hour.
fast.
No,
Oh,
not
okay.
crazy.
Right.
But we're going 20, maybe they're going 22.
Right.
And so they're maybe 50 yards ahead of us.
And they don't see it.
And that, I don't know if they see it, then they can't. So that truck ends up spinning through the median and hits that Honda CRV and knocks it onto the side, on its passenger side. And I'm like,
Right in front of you.
right in front of us. Like, oh my God. And so we got out to help, and the driver's side door opens, and it was the husband. Like, I've got 2 kids in the car. And so I go to reach up to get the baby seat,
Right.
and like, what in the world? And I knew what it was, but man, I got to get the kid back to our
Right.
car. So I get the kid back to our car, and everybody's okay. The guy driving the truck was okay.
Wow.
The 2 kids and the wife and the husband, so they're all in the car. Now I'm standing outside of our car. It's still an ice storm.
Right.
Now traffic is backed up. I don't know how many miles. Fire trucks coming, ambulance is there, and the ambulance driver's like, "Is everybody all right?" And I'm like, "No." He's
Blue was
"What?"
the only one.
He's like, "What'd you do?" I said, "Pretty sure I blew out the old wheel." And so I knew I'd blown my Achilles. I didn't know how bad it was. So we ended up getting home. I was supposed to go to a Chiefs game the next day. And I limp into the house, and I sit down in the recliner, and I do the old test,
Yeah.
to see, and there's nothing. Like,
Yeah.
Just
nothing there.
So thank God, Steve Joyce, who was our team doctor,
Oh,
he had
yeah.
already done my shoulder and my knee. And so I called him and said, so he ended up having surgery on Christmas Eve day
Wow.
on my Achilles. So,
Wow.
my line on that was, I may have deserved that, but maybe not right then.
Right there. I had that coming.
Yeah, but
not in a
right.
I'm
hero
here helping
circumstance.
these
Trying to
people,
help
yeah.
people.
Right.
So I can't,
Did those families come and see you in the hospital after that surgery?
no, but we communicated.
That's
We
cool.
communicated
That's cool.
on it afterwards, and the news did a story on it. Channel 5, I think, sent somebody to the house.
Yeah.
As I'm laid up at my parents' house on Christmas. And thank God it was Christmas break.
Right.
So I'm laid up with an Achilles. And then I had to go. There's still pictures of me catching lessons in a boot.
Wow.
'Cause it's my
Wow.
busy time of
Yeah,
the year is
yeah,
that time
sure.
of the year. So
They
I'm
can't
trying to catch
stop,
lessons with a mask on and a boot and a wheelchair.
Right.
Catching lessons.
Dude.
Well, you know what?
There's a will, there's a way.
Maybe another beer or two at the wheel, everything would have been just fine. You might have been
Been
second
all
or
loose.
third.
I mean, that's the crazy thing to think about. A minute.
Oh, one extra minute in the bar.
Either direction.
Yeah.
And I'm not the one on the road.
Right.
Yeah, that's how this weird world works.
That's crazy.
Yeah, crazy.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
So, kind of, you mentioned it, so I think that's a perfect segue. Your coaching, your teaching that you're doing with young people. I mean, going from a player to a leader of young people with coaching and instruction. Number one, tell us about the programs that you're working with.
Sure.
Number two, how has that impacted, you think, those young people? And number three, how does it impact Jamie Bluma on a sense of being able to serve those folks?
Two things. One, the line I use now is like, I know I was a decent player because I was good enough to make it to the big leagues, but having coached for 22 years, I think I'm a better coach than I was a player. Just because I want kids to love the game. I've been fortunate enough to have some students that have made it to the highest level.
Oh, have you really?
Yeah, Ryan Stanek,
Yeah.
who pitches for the Astros, was
Yeah.
one of my former students. John Means, who threw a new hitter with the Orioles.
Orioles, yep.
Had a fortunate opportunity to work with him. So to have two guys do that, I mean, that's crazy.
That's
And
awesome.
that's the
Very
cool
cool.
thing about just instruction in general in Kansas City is getting better and better. Not just myself, but there's a ton of other people in town.
Right.
And the talent here and the instruction is through the roof. So fortunately, when I got done in 2000, I was able to start coaching and teaching with an outfit called Old Ball Game. That's actually was in the building that is now Mack and Sites. So I started with those guys, John Patton, whose dad was Marty Patton.
Oh, yeah.
I worked with him.
Wow.
Corey Owen, who I still work with now at Home Field, was part of that group. So I've been with those guys for almost 22 years. And so it just started hourly, teaching lessons and trying to get a little rapport with
Right.
kids and doing that stuff and helping coach camp and kind of doing anything and everything. And then I got an opportunity to do some coaching in Alaska where I had played and ended up with Jacoby Ellsbury in center field one year and Mike Pelfrey
That's
and
crazy.
Mike Zagurski from KU that made
Yeah.
it to the big league. So to coach younger kids and then get a chance to coach some college kids at that talent was cool. So I did that for 2 summers and then been coaching and teaching and doing that I was with 68s for 6 or 7 years and now I'm with Home Field and we got some big things coming with Home Field. We got a big place out in Olathe off of Kansas City Road next to Furniture Mall, Kansas is our spot. And then we've got one on
We've had
Bannister
some
Road.
fantasy camp practices.
Yep,
out
and then we
there.
do
Yep.
fantasy camp practices a little bit on the one on Bannister. And then our organization is the one that's got the project going out where Schlitterbahn used to be.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
that's Home Field Project. So that's going to be a destination spot. So a really
Right.
youth destination with, I think, a Margaritaville hotel, a water park again, indoor fields, outdoor indoor
that's
training
gonna be
facility,
cool.
outdoor fields.
Cool.
So that's all in the works. So, that's
So
what
how does
I
that
got doing.
feel, like being a mentor to these young guys? You've been there, done that, being drafted, being a stud in college and also in the pros. Like, how does that feel to kind of help mentor these young guys through the process?
It's a blast. I reach back. Like one of the first lessons I remember ever having was Joe Carter's son. And so Joe was a huge Wichita State alum.
Yeah.
And so I realized early on that Joe Carter's son doesn't listen to his dad.
Right.
And so that's been a crazy thing. Like
No
regardless
different
of who
than
your
any other
father is.
little
So
league
when
kid, yeah.
and
we can't
Rand-
relate to that at
Right.
all. I have no idea what that means.
And so, and Joe Randa's kids and Jeff Montgomery's kids and all that, and I coach them travel ball. Like, it doesn't matter who their dad is; they don't listen to dad. They can be
listen to
saying the
dad.
exact same things.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter if your dad is Joe Randa or Bobby Kerr or Darren Copeland. I can say something,
Sure.
and they'll listen.
Comes out
and that's
different.
and just try to explain to them, fundamentals and have fun and respect the game and love it. And that's the fun thing for me. It's great that I've had Ryan Stanek and John Means and all the guys that have played collegiately and professionally. But man, when I run into a kid at a restaurant who's now 26 years old and works at Black and Veatch, and he sees me at dinner and says, "What's up, Coach?"
How cool
That means
is
he had a
that?
great baseball experience, whether he played past high school or even played in high school.
Right.
That's what means the world to me, because you're trying to develop young men.
Absolutely.
And the truth is, nobody's going to make it
Right.
at the highest level. Be a good human, help be a benefit to society, and do good things, and pay it forward when you get the opportunity. I mean, all the kids that have worked for me or I've worked with, I mean, that's the thing moving forward. I try to tell them, like, when you have the opportunity, do the same things for the people that you're working with.
Absolutely. We talk about this in our business all the time is, there's basement people and elevator people, right?
Sure.
And you always want to hang out with the elevator people that are going to lift you up, right? Because coaches have more influence on those young kids than almost anyone else in their life, right?
Amen.
And they remember that. So whether you're at a ball game or a restaurant or something like that, for those people to come up and say thank you, dude, that's
Huge,
it, man.
huge.
That's awesome.
One of my lines is collect good people. That's what I say.
We say the same thing essentially, but we hire for heart and work ethic.
I remember Gene
didn't teach
Stevenson
anything
saying,
else.
"You are only as good as the people you surround yourself with." And I didn't think I was listening to that comment when I was 20,
But
19
here you are,
years
20
old at
years,
Wichita
30
State.
years,
Yeah,
right,
but now
right.
that I'm 50 years old, that is absolutely 100% true. So you guys know, and you surround yourself with good people, good things are going to happen.
That's
All day long.
absolutely
all
true.
day long.
Yeah, all day long.
So, coaching young people, teaching young people, I'm sure you get kids and folks of all ages, all body types, and just like you said, serve them, coach them up in baseball and in life, right?
Yep.
So, you growing up, you didn't have the prototypical Major League Baseball frame, right? Like you were,
I wish I would ever be asked, "Did you pitch?" I never get that.
Right.
What do I get?
like,
Right.
you catcher.
Did you catch?
Are you bullpen catcher?
So I think that's kind of a maybe one of an adversity that you hey, I'm going to prove these people wrong. I don't have to be 6'5",
Sure.
right?
Well,
200
two
pounds.
things, and I'll say this, and I say this to my students, whether they believe me or not. I was a guy that battled my weight all the time. It was always, and so every spring training, I tried to weigh in at 199 because 199 looks 20 pounds less than 200
Right.
when you're 5'11".
Right. Sure.
And that
All
was
day.
it. And in college, I probably pitched at 200, 205. 210 was probably my best weight. But then I'd have a tendency to end up the season at 220 or 230 and then have to work all off season to get back. So
what were you doing during the off season to cause that?
The beers are good.
They're so cold.
I enjoy food. Never trust a skinny cook. Right. So that was all. So I try to explain to guys I wasn't the guy that it was just. We had to run a sub 6 mile at Wichita State. That was
wow.
work.
Holy
That was something we had to do every year.
That's fast.
Yeah. So the first year I didn't make it. My younger brother never made it. I'll give him shit about that.
Right.
You're good.
But that's the thing, and some guys are just such naturally talented athletes. I wasn't that guy. Maybe I was good. I had a good arm, but I had to work for everything. And the irony of it was being a shorter guy. I remember the first fantasy camp that I did, and it was Marty Patton, myself, and Jeff Montgomery standing there talking about pitching. I'm like, not one of us 6 foot tall. That's pretty cool.
That's good company.
Yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah, but
So-
that gives the other kids and the young ones hope of hey, I don't have to be that prototypical 6'4", 6'5".
No, and that's what you see. That's
That's
the
what I'm
beauty.
getting at,
I say
yeah.
that all the time. That's the beauty of baseball.
Yeah.
Is you can be 6'7" and be Aaron Judge, or you can be 5'9" Tom
Jose
Gordon.
Altuve,
Tom
yeah.
Gordon.
Jose
He's an
Altuve.
ex-Royal.
Flash, yeah.
Tom
Yeah.
Gordon. Flash wasn't even 5'10", I don't think.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so doesn't matter.
Yeah,
They
and
go
his
out there
son
and do.
even
I love
made
that
it,
picture of Altuve and Judge at second
Dude,
base from a couple
yeah.
years ago.
It's like
that's
a
crazy.
baby.
Right.
Man.
With a monster.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of this sport that's different than football and different than basketball
Yeah.
and those things. There's a certain level. Baseball,
Right.
man, we take all kinds.
Speaking of the beauty,
exactly.
speaking of the beauty of the sport, sometimes in baseball they do crazy stuff before games.
Here we go.
I've heard about those.
there we
things.
go.
And the then California Angels
Correct.
did something. And actually, they do this often. I found out the
Oh, okay.
Angels
They
specifically.
do.
It's like a thing for the Angels.
Okay.
And they did a cow milking contest.
Correct.
Right. Which
Yeah.
you'd had a little bit of experience.
A little bit. Not a
with the
ton.
no, but you were in the bullpen, right? So tell the whole story.
So I was in Indianapolis the night before, and as we've discussed already, wasn't in my hotel room a lot at night. So Mike Jersley was our manager, and he called the room. He's like, "You answered. What in the world? You okay?"
Are you sick?
He said, "Well, good thing that you're in your room because you're going to the big leagues." And I'm
That
like,
was this is first ever
So
call
yeah,
up.
so it's first and only. So I ended up having to go yada yada yada, get on a plane the next morning, fly to Anaheim, figure out how to get a cab to the stadium, all that stuff. So I remember dragging my luggage across the outfield from the right field bullpen into the dugout. Well, I knew Todd Green and Mike Holtz on the Angels.
Yep.
I played against in college.
Yeah.
They're like, woo,
Yeah.
you know, and they're
Right.
rookies too. So it was kind of a cool thing. So I get to the dugout. Well, I had not been to big league camp yet, so I don't know. I don't even know the manager. I don't know Bob Boone. I know his son,
Aaron.
because I
Right,
played
yeah.
against him. Yeah, Aaron and I had played against each other and together with the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. But I had not been to big league camp, so I didn't really know. The only guys
Nobody
that I
knew you were then,
Not
really.
just the guys that
Yeah.
were already in the big leagues that had been in AAA. You know,
Right.
Randa and Vidiello and some of those guys that I had seen
Damon
in
there?
AAA. Damon was up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
He
you
had
literally
come up
had no idea really what was going on.
no, so I ended up going into the manager's office, and there was some sort of a roster snafu of some or whatever. And I don't know if it was Julio Valero and Tim Pugh were the two pitchers, and then Bip Roberts.
Yeah.
So Bip Roberts was going to work out before the game. If he goes on the DL, I'm active. If Bip Roberts doesn't go on the DL, I go back to Indy. I go back to Indy the next morning. So, as we know about Bip Roberts had a tendency to not play in the in the
Right.
World Series, whatever. So Bip goes on the DL
Didn't he take himself out of a game?
in the World Series, yeah.
In the
In
wow.
the World Series.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's another whole show, probably.
Right.
So you're active. So I go down the bullpen, and Jose Rosado, if you remember him, another
yeah.
rookie, same draft as me. He started in like bottom of the fifth. There was a pop up by the dugout. And he was a super athletic pitcher. Don't say that we aren't. And he fell into the dugout as he caught the ball and twisted his knee. Phone rings. You got the sixth.
Oh, man.
Oh shit!
Here we go.
Did,
Yeah,
the,
here we
did
go.
the nerves just,
Oh,
just like
absolutely. You don't even
overflow
really
you?
have time. Like get up, get loose. You're in the game, and so I do that. Well, rewind a little bit after having the meeting and know that that was the cow milking contest. So
Right.
you're the rookie. I think it was Chris Haney or whoever, or Belcher. I can't remember, Monty. You know, you're obviously you just got here today, so
Right.
you're the guy that's going to go do
Yeah.
it. So I'd had a little bit of history with my family being from Nebraska that I had milked a cow or two, not a ton.
Right.
Mike Holtz was a super redneck.
He
so
done
I
it a
knew I was
bunch.
in trouble. Yeah. So
He
I'm
just
actually
walked over there.
I'm actually leading, and I'm thinking, and then the cow kicked over my bucket of milk, and I
So
lost. So.
before we continue,
I think we got a picture.
I got a
oh
picture.
my God,
have
where
you ever
in the-
seen this? This is
No.
on the internet, the webs,
Shut
the interwebs.
the front door.
It's kind of
Right.
pixelated, but there you are,
That is unbelievable.
right?
Right.
So
That's Mike Holtz.
yeah,
Have you not seen that picture before?
I have never seen that picture before.
I'll send it to you.
That is amazing.
Yeah, I wish it had more. There's I can't find any
He's
video.
still got the
I'm telling
He's
you,
holding this pail
bucket
of
of
milk.
That is, I have never
That's
seen
amazing.
that.
Hey, we
Wow,
do our
I'm skinny.
research, brother.
I'm skinny. Wow.
Yeah, this is
Look how
no
good these are. Crazy.
amateur show, man.
No, man.
That is
we
impressive.
dig in.
We did get
Yeah.
big time.
Wow. So I think it was like ticket. Which is in California? Disneyland or
Disneyland.
So yeah, it was like
Yeah.
Mike got 4 tickets to Disneyland. I got 4 tickets to Steak and Shake or something. I don't know.
So how did you do going
Yeah.
in the sixth inning? How did it work out?
So
What you had to get?
you guys know the story. So I come into the game, and the first batter I face is Rex Hudler, and so he hits home
yeah, I
run
know.
off me. So 1-1. I thought it was a 0-1 count. It was a 1-1 count.
Does he
I
still
did
bring
go back
that
and
up to
look.
this day?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So I remember. So that happened. 427 feet. I remember hearing it over the loudspeaker, like, well, that's not a good start. Dang, these guys are pretty good. That's Rex Hudler, not like Babe Ruth.
Right.
Right? So, and then Chili Davis hit one back up the middle, and Charlie Brown me, but I didn't give up another run that inning. So,
Yeah.
and that was that. So after the game, of course, saved the ball and all that good stuff.
That's
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was your family and friends, were they just phoning in, or were you calling them
No
after
cell
the game?
phones, bro.
Yeah,
That's true.
I get back to the
96.
hotel.
Yeah, that's
There's
right.
who even had my number at the hotel? That was phone
Right.
card days.
Yeah.
You know,
Calling cards?
absolutely,
Calling
man.
cards.
Calling
Wow,
card
that's
days.
right.
Yeah. So, and I think my parent, because of all of us playing in college, my parents had gotten a 1-800 number, to do that
Yeah.
for us to call back home.
I remember
So that was an interesting. Yeah.
So-
not many people knew you could do that.
Yeah.
And that's how we
To get
would
around the
call.
long distance,
Well,
yeah.
not get around it, but then the bill would always
Just a
be
reduced,
theirs,
yeah.
not ours.
Oh, okay.
So.
That's interesting.
that
So,
was-
sticking kind of with that same, I don't know if this was a college story or if this was, no, I think this was probably college. Hoppy the Toad.
Oh my God! All right, so
Bro, this is
this
great.
is hysterical.
This is
So
awesome.
I actually have a couple. Collegiate baseball did a whole slew of articles about
Yeah.
the hoppy and the ecosystem.
Right, that-
all right. So
I have Hoppy
how
and
this-
ecosystem.
Oh, yeah,
with the
yeah.
Toads.
So this all started in like the Missouri Valley tournament my freshman year. We had a toad. We found a toad in the bullpen.
Okay.
Steve Smith was a senior reliever from Canada. Fun. So we had the toad on a leash. Just
Like a literal,
that was
like little dog
oh
leash?
yeah.
Well, like something like this.
Yeah, like let's just a piece of string or something,
That's awesome.
And so the net and it escaped, and we lost
Shocker.
it. So yeah, well, shocker.
Get it, Wichita?
So I see what you did there.
So we end up winning that regional, and we go to Omaha, and so that was kind of a good luck charm. So my mom ends up going down to Old Town Omaha and finds like a little plastic frog, and so I put it in my hat and found like a giant grasshopper, and then just a bunch of a shark. And
For
so-
those listening who aren't giant baseball fans, we tend to be very superstitious.
I don't even know if this was superstitious, but now we created it. So we're practicing at Creighton before the College World Series, and in the dirt in the bullpen, we had created this entire. I have a picture of it at home. I have to send you this entire ecosystem of frogs, and we had to find another toad somehow, and all this stuff. And then I have a picture where I have a giant cricket with a baby's head on it, hanging around my neck with a plastic frog on my, and I always warmed up with my hat on backwards.
Right.
And then as I'm coming into the game, I would turn my hat around. And I wondered when I got to pro ball why people thought I was an asshole. Like,
Where are you getting this from?
You didn't even. I didn't know. Like, I wasn't.
You don't know
doing
what
it.
you don't know.
We're just having fun, man.
Right.
And so if you know me, like I've been this same dude since then. Like just having a good time. I wasn't ever doing it to piss anybody off.
Right,
But that was the
right.
superstition thing. The day I got my first save
Yeah.
at Wichita State, that's what I did. We had
Yeah.
terrible uniforms, dude. We had V-necks and drawstrings. We didn't have buttons or belts. Gene was a tight ass, man.
Wow. I say for a good program that
Yes.
had been winning for
We
so
looked like a
many years.
softball team in the College World Series. Go back and look at the highlights.
Right.
Same
That's-
colors as the Bad News Bears and everything.
We need to check that out later.
Yeah, so,
It's like the
so that
Sunday
was the
softball
thing.
team.
So spin the hat around, and that was it. So that's kind of what I did for the next 4 years. So that was that. Then the
Should have-
ecosystem, and so
Right.
all
great.
that.
That's a
Just
great
fun,
story.
just having fun.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
thank you for
So
sharing that.
another thing, Bluma, because you're a great storyteller. So what's maybe a story that we haven't asked you? What's one of your favorite stories from back in your ball game? What your playing days, whether it's college or
All right,
pro?
all right. So I'll do a do not do this
Okay,
story. So
okay.
1993 College World Series, we lose the national championship game again. So we finished second twice. We're lined up along the first base line. They hand you your second place plaque, and I turned around and frisbeed that thing into the dugout and broke it into like the worst sportsmanship. Kids do not do this. Do not watch that. I was so pissed. We finished
Well, yeah.
second again.
Right.
Having watched my brother win one, us lose one in '91, and
Right.
then we lost again. And another story was Brett Laxton pitched that game and struck out 16. We ended up trading for Brett Laxton with the Royals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was a freshman at LSU then, and so that was the a story that I don't like to tell, but from a sportsmanship standpoint, please don't do
Right,
this.
right.
I just completely lost my
Do as I
composure,
say,
not as I
do.
did.
That's
Yeah.
a maturing story.
Because I remember growing up, like my mom and dad, if you ever throw your helmet, we'll come on the field and get you and
Right.
yank you off that field.
So this is when all the dudes were on the field and
we're lined
like,
up.
the award
lined
ceremony.
up.
Oh yeah. Like just, I'm glad there's no pictures of that.
There
running around.
might end up being a picture of that, like in your locker, like
Well,
November or
Get
something.
one.
and I bust myself. Like,
Sure,
don't
sure.
do that.
Do you, DC, do you have a memory of playing baseball where it stuck with you that it was kind of almost like Bluma's story of like, don't ever do that again? I do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you remember like a particular thing?
Just particular time, I struck out a couple times in a game, and I just rifled my helmet into the dugout, and all the parents and everything. I'm just like, oh,
yeah.
and you can't find a hole quick enough to go hide in, right?
I remember I was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it.
I was 16 and playing Legion ball in Blue Springs, and got a single, which is usually about all I could do. It's a singles
I don't
machine,
believe
right?
that.
Right, really. And but I could steal. I stole a lot of bases, right? So I attempt to steal second base. I thought I was safe. Of course, I was probably really out. Ump calls me out. I get up. I throw my helmet. First of all, I was a very respectful player. Like I had my stuff together most of the time. I got up. I threw my helmet down and it bounced, almost hit me in the chin, and I yelled out a giant GD loud enough for my grandmother to hear.
Oh no!
Who was in the stands, and everyone could hear.
Did he invite you to leave the game?
I get in the dugout. First of all, my coach said, "Sit your ass down," and my mom came over to the dugout.
Oh, no.
And said,
Oh no!
"Grammy heard you, and everyone else heard
You're
you.
done.
I hope you know what you just did." And oh my God, I was this tall, and that story stuck with me, right? So as
Dude, I can feel you right now.
I was so embarrassed. My anxieties were going crazy, but
Oh.
it stuck with me so well for the rest of my life that when I started coaching, I was coaching girls softball or high school golf. I always told that story at the beginning of the season about, hey,
Right.
whenever something bad happens, because it's going to, take 2 seconds to pause and think.
Take a deep breath.
Take a deep
Take-
breath
yeah,
and
yeah.
say, no one died. Right?
Right.
Let's just take it easy because it's not that big of a deal.
Well, and you can also translate that to the business side, right? Because everyone's watching you,
Sure.
right?
All the
So
time.
you always have to make sure, even though that something might upset you, but, again, be an elevator person. Don't let that show and just be classy, especially now. I mean, there's cameras everywhere. People are recording stuff. So, I mean, you just always have to be cool, right?
Yeah.
That's one of our sayings, Jamie, is ABC.
Hence
Always
the
be
name of the
cool.
podcast.
We actually have
Yes.
a podcast.
I love it.
We have this
You do?
podcast?
I can't wait to hear it. Well, that's
man.
one of my things too. Is I'm doing camps all the time, so
Right.
I come across a ton of kids all the time, and that's just respect the game and just how you go about your business and hustle. And there's some. I had one a couple weeks ago where I was like, hey, run off the field. We're scrimmaging
Yep.
right now, and he's like, nope. And I said, excuse me. He said, no, Coach, I'm conserving energy.
Oh,
Like,
boy.
oh my God. And that comes from home.
Was it snowing
That
around
comes
him
from
because
home.
he's a
Yeah.
snowboarder?
So that's what makes me mad. Like that,
Yeah.
the kid's 9. He didn't come up with that on his own.
No.
Like that's so that we're gonna have to have a chat, little Johnny.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have a chat with your parents.
Yeah.
Once camp's over, and so those situations get awkward at times, because a lot of times kids don't know what they don't know.
Right.
So that's our job as coaches and stuff. You want to hope that some of that comes from home.
Right.
The good stuff. But I mean
That's a coaching opportunity.
all the time.
For the
They're
parents,
there all the
yes.
time.
Yeah.
For the
All
and
day.
that's what I try to tell them, and
Exactly.
nonstop opportunities just to help kids be better kids and young men. And
Right.
Yes sir, no sir,
All day
all
long.
those things, man.
All day
It's pretty simple, and I get that asked a lot all the time, just for as little big league time as I've had and stuck around town and do a ton of stuff. Man, be nice to people. What a crazy blueprint!
Shocker.
Yeah, be nice.
Isn't that amazing?
Help people.
Right.
Do some stuff that other people can't do. I mean, that's where, and we'll talk about Red, White, and Bluma here in a minute.
Yeah, that's actually-
how
yeah.
that all kind of came about.
Yep.
Well, I think let's talk about it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So-
a perfect segue.
So 2000. First of all, rewind. My dad was an F4 pilot, so that's why
Vietnam.
we were all born kind of all over the country. You said I was born in Beaufort, South Carolina. My older brother was born in Selma, Alabama. My younger brother was born outside of Chicago.
Wow.
Dad was in the Marine Corps.
Different bases, right?
Different bases.
Yep.
Not Chicago. He had after Vietnam, he went back and finished school at Nebraska and was a petroleum engineer and was working for Texaco outside of Chicago.
Okay.
So that's where my youngest brother was born. So 2012 or 13, my mom and dad had moved to Kansas City, and I'm slaving to the grind, working and doing lessons and all that. And I'm like, man, there's got to be more to this. I mean, I like what I do, but there's got to be something else. And so I had always a country music lover and a live music lover here in town. And so Travis Marvin and Noe Palma had become decent friends because of Will Jennings. They always had live country music out south. And so I was like, man, I kind of want to do a fundraiser. And Folds of Honor had taken place in Owasso, my hometown.
Nice.
And I didn't know Dan Rooney personally, but he's a KU guy. And I knew some people that had contact with him. And I said, so I gave him a call.
Right.
And I said, Dan, I know you. I think you have an idea who I am. Enjoy Owasso. Love golf tournaments. But Uncle, everybody has a golf
Everyone's
tournament as a
right,
fundraiser. I want to do something completely different. I want to do a concert and all this stuff. Do I have your blessing? Yes. So the first Bluma Palooza was 2014. I didn't expect the Royals to be in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
So that put a kind of a wrench in the
Right.
thing, and it was in October. And so I lucked out. And the team was on the road in Baltimore.
Wow.
And so I ended up hiring a company to come out and put up a big screen and a tent, and so we could
And they
watch
had it
the
on
game.
there. Wow.
And then we
Yeah.
could have the concert. So I remember standing next to Noe Palma and the game's going. I'm like, when are you going to play? Like, He's like, you wait till the game's over,
Right.
idiot. Like, okay, man, I don't know. It's my first time. I don't know what I'm doing. And so all that stuff. So the first year, Bluma Palooza, 2014, every penny went to Folds of Honor.
That's awesome.
And they had kind of built a back end of the website where you could donate through. And I didn't have a credit card swipe. I didn't have any. So if you wrote a check, you had to write it to folds of honor,
Right.
and cash. So the next morning, probably hungover because we had a good time. Stephen St. John and I got booed off the stage for reading raffle ticket numbers out loud. We'll never do that again. Little bit of rain, but we're counting money, so we had cash in Crown Royal bags.
Oh my gosh.
And so that's the next morning,
Sounds like my kind of party.
And
Right.
we raised, $7,000 or whatever
Yeah.
on top of what got donated. So
That's awesome.
I was like, well, that's probably not the best way to go about doing things. So that's where Red, White, and Bluma came from. So I sat down with my accountant, my attorney, and you got to come up with a name,
Yep.
which, as you well know, trying to figure things, not that easy. Red, White, and Blue, not getting that one.
Yeah, nope.
So I was sitting in Nick and Jake's having a beer, and I looked up at the flag there at Nick and Jake's, and I said, Red, White, and Bluma.
It's perfect.
I said, man, I hope that's not too vain. I'm not a vain guy.
No, but
I was like, that's pretty good because it's my dad. My dad. So a lot of people say, Mr. Bluma. I said, that's not me. That's my father.
Right.
So that's how it came about. So as of 2015, this will be year 9 of Bluma Palooza in September. We've raised over $350,000.
That's amazing.
Over the first 8 years, including $100,000 alone last year. And so not all of it goes to Folds now. I kind of spread the wealth. So Veterans Community Project here in town, Hero Fund USA, a whole bunch of other Variety Kansas
Live
City
Like
that
Luke.
does Live Like Luke
Yep.
Foundation, and on and on and on. I mean, I could get a list of the people that I have, and I just want to vet where the money's going, and if it's local Kansas
Right.
City or anybody veteran allocated.
Well, and
It's
let's
been
give
fun.
our listeners an opportunity to get involved because it is an amazing project.
Yeah, so
that you have-
September 24th this year is a Saturday. It will be at Stonegate Motor Plaza, which is 207th and 69 Highway South in Stillwell, Bucyrus.
Right.
Will be Travis Marvin and Noe Palma again. They're nice enough to do it for, this will be the 9th year.
That's awesome.
So I'll do a silent auction with some really cool stuff.
That'll be fun.
And then I do one live auction, which is a flag made out of bottle caps by Ezekiel Crozier.
You kind of do that.
who's a vet
That's
here
an
in town.
every year thing, right?
Yes,
The bottle caps.
we've done that
That's cool.
7 of the 8 years.
That's
I met him through mutual friends, and last year that flag raised $20,000.
Holy
We sold 2 of them
smokes.
for $10,000 each. Wow. So that's pretty cool.
amazing.
And so I can't thank everybody for being involved, and it's fun. The first 6 years I had rain, so the last 2 years have been absolutely spectacular. So
Exactly.
knock on wood for September 24th. We usually have the Veterans Community Project mini house on display, some food trucks and some items.
Now,
and,
is there tickets to if people
Yeah,
can
we'll get
buy-
the website.
BlumaPalooza.com or
There you go.
redwhiteandbluma.org. And then I'll have a Facebook and Eventbrite. That's what I got to
Yep.
get cracking on this week.
Yep.
I was getting the Eventbrite up and all that stuff for sale. Or you can just show up and buy tickets at the front door. It's easy, so you don't have to buy stuff beforehand. We do run a shuttle. I run a shuttle from Tanner's on 143rd.
Oh, nice.
Back and forth, yeah, so people can grab a couple beers at Tanner's or whatever, not drive, hop in the bus, shuttle back and forth and all that stuff. And
Such
it's
a
just
great
good time.
cause,
Yeah,
man.
we've
You've done a phenomenal
It's been
job.
fun.
You
And I
and
want
your team.
At some
Yeah.
point, we've talked about this. We switch gears a little bit and have either Soul Shine or
Mr. Bob Jovi.
Bob Jovi
Yeah.
play the
Yeah,
event.
man,
I got to
that'd be
switch it
lovely,
up.
yeah.
I mean, I've done country for 9 years in a
Yeah,
row
I
now.
mean, Travis and
they're good.
they're so good.
Right.
They're
And
so-
they're good
and
friends.
And they have names like that.
True.
A
And so
lot
do
of
you.
people know, right?
Yeah,
So
right.
Yeah, but I'm sure Bob Jovi probably could play 1 or 2 songs in there, mix it in a little bit.
we can figure something out.
yeah.
Because
absolutely.
speaking of friends, so one of our really good friends, I've known him since junior high. So Sean McGraw,
Oh,
Tug,
yeah, absolutely,
for
yeah.
Fancy Camp. So went to junior high with him, played ball
I
with
did
him.
not know that.
Way
Yeah.
back in the day.
They're
Nice.
besties.
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
Independence, Missouri, and man, I just want to personally thank you because you've done a lot for him, and him being a Marine.
Sure.
There's no former Marines, right?
Right.
And
I made that mistake.
yeah,
Thanks.
exactly.
Sorry, Steve Bluma.
But he is, man, I know he's done several things with you, and man, he just loves hanging out with you and all the things that you do to help the veterans, man. So like from us, like thank you for all you do for those people, man, because those guys go through stuff that no
That's
one
the
can
very
ever
least I
imagine.
could do. I mean, I don't want anybody to think that I served. I did not. My father served, and I'm trying to help all those people that have.
Right.
I just got to pitch, for God's sake. So with my, circle of friends and reach, why not try to do something like that? I mean,
I love we do this every single episode. We find something where every other guest has done or said something that's very similar, right? So whether it's
Just giving back.
giving, so like this theme
Servitude.
that we're talking about,
Yep.
like whether you're Les Norman or Fitzmaurice or it's the same message. I was able to do something that was extraordinary. That's something that so few people get to do, like pitch in the big leagues or play Major League Baseball. And I now have somewhat of a platform, and I have a group of friends in this fraternity where we can help people now, even though I can't pitch in the major leagues. Right. I still am able to give back in a way, and I know that's why you started this, right? Like just 100%. Like you said, I have an opportunity to do something that's going to help a lot of people.
I wish I would have made $100 million playing baseball. I did not.
Right.
So I had to figure out a way to be able to give back, but I don't have enough personal wealth to be able to just be thrown around. Let me get other people's money and give it away.
Right.
Perfect. That's special.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's been, and the support from just everybody that's been, and people that have been to Bluma Palooza are like, man, please come back. And for the people that have never been and come for the first time, it's just fun to see. I remember Craig Wilson played shortstop at K-State, played in the big leagues with the White Sox. I remember he came the first year, and he's like, Bluma, I thought it was going to be some dude playing a guitar on your back porch like we've done at your house before. He's like,
he had the bar way down.
Yeah, he was like, holy mackerel. I said, what's what we do, man. How come we can't mold all the things that I like together and raise some money doing it?
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah,
well, you're going to have a really good fraternity, and that's what we have viewed fantasy camp over the past few years. I mean, literally, it's a fraternity of guys that keep coming back. It's not about the baseball anymore, right?
Right.
It's about the brotherhood and hanging out. So it's awesome to see these guys at charity events, Bob Jovi shows, weddings, and just supporting everyone.
I can't tell you how. I mean, I have a huge stable of guys that I've met only through fantasy camp the first time.
Right.
And I continue to see those guys all the time. So I'm fortunate enough to get an opportunity. So thank you to the board and everybody else involved, alumni, Dina before that, Chris Stathos and Fred White, way back when they were running camp. To get to go the first time was kind of the big deal for me. Awesome. And so I was always going to try to make the most of it. If I'm the guy that's got to stay out till 3 o'clock in the morning,
someone's got to do it.
Hey, man,
it's a job.
Everybody's got a different fantasy, right? So, however, I can facilitate
hanging out with former Royal in the bar.
Everybody wants a Whataburger at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Exactly.
And you'll drive them through it.
Oh, well, somebody will.
Somebody will.
It's your job to support it.
That's VZ's job. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome.
Thank you, VZ. For
being VZ's the guy.
Oh my gosh,
for sure. So and that's the. Always trying to find something to do on that Thursday night, because So we've done hockey game.
Yeah.
We've done concerts. We'll figure out something again. It's different. It's going to be different this year in November. The Saloon, Moon Saloon.
Yep.
Different neighborhoods.
There's been some great stories, man. Yeah, different neighborhoods. So I got to get the lay of the land a little bit.
You might need to pull some strings and get Bobby and I on your team this year.
You know how that goes. Yeah. I am going to stay away from that one.
Let's not bug Dino about that.
No.
We don't even do that anymore.
Well, and it's I have a unique relationship with Dina just because I used to run around with Dusty. So we were the same age and working out here in Kansas City.
That's cool.
Yeah, so Dusty and I were spending too much time at Kelly's and doing all that kind of stuff.
A couple of things. Number one, I don't think you know this story, but I took catching lessons from Dusty for 2 or 3 years.
Good.
94 to 96.
I believe it.
At All Stars in Blue Springs.
Yeah.
So I got to know them back then. Funny also thing about Dusty, there was an article that just came out about potential managers for Royals.
Right.
Oh, really?
And he's listed as
would that be amazing?
Number one. Cool. Potential would be really cool.
That would be
he's
really
still
cool.
coaching third base for the Phillies. So that would be,
right.
Yep. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember way back.
Just saying.
Just saying.
Just say.
He was going to be a pro wrestler. He had his nickname and everything. It was going to be the Sandman. He'll put you to sleep. That was so funny because he was in AAA with the Mariners.
Yeah.
When I was in Omaha. So when we weren't here and working out or whatever we were doing.
Right.
Funny.
Wow.
He's doing great. Good things from him.
So before we wrap up, can you lift up your right hand?
Yep.
Actually, I have it. All right. Nub fell 18 feet off an extension ladder.
Show that to the camera. Yeah, there you go.
Good.
18 feet.
So I have a fingernail that grows out of the end of it.
Show DC.
I have to trim that.
It's kind of gnarly, bro.
So I was at 68 Inside Sports, fixing holes in the batting cage net. I'm up on the ladder, and the ladder slipped off the aircraft cable. And I've never been part of something that is 1,000 miles an hour in slow motion at the exact same time. But if I could see myself falling on that ladder and dying or breaking both arms or my neck. All I could think of was, man, if I reach up and try to grab a hold of that aircraft cable, maybe the whole mechanism slowly collapses. And I don't even know, but that's my only shot. So I reach up to grab it. So I end up falling straight up and down. Feet hit the ground, knees buckled, face hit the ground. But I stood up, and I knew I'd done something to my foot. So I looked down at my foot. When I looked down at my foot, my finger was gone. So they call it degloving.
Yeah.
So if you would, grab my backpack from right outside the door. I got something else
Did
to
you?
show you.
Okay.
Hold on. Hold on. For real.
All right, this is
Right
not
there.
scripted.
No,
I'll be right
this
back.
is not. And I
Holy
failed.
shit.
So they ended up doing a skin
It's not
graft.
your finger, is it?
They ended up doing a skin graft from here. And I asked the doc why there, and he said no hair.
hair.
And I said, oh man, that'd be cool to have a Sasquatch. That's
right, have a hairy finger.
Sasquatch shocker finger.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, and there it is.
Oh!
So Zeke Crozier, as I've mentioned, that does the bottle cap flags, works really well with acrylic, and he was able to buy a mold.
When did you do that?
So that's 2 weeks ago.
2
he
weeks
finished it
ago.
up. So there it is.
Hey, let me take a picture of you holding your finger. Oh, my God.
I got to be honest, I didn't see that one coming today.
No.
So it was in
neither
the
did
freezer
I.
for 10 years.
What, next to your ice cream?
No,
Kept in your freezer?
the beer freezer out in the garage.
Can I hold it?
Yeah.
It's the size of a pool ball.
So the
billiards
original.
ball.
So when I was a kid, in the back of comic books, you could buy like little ice cubes that had flies in them, fake and all that
Right.
stuff. So that's where that kind of got dreamt up. And I talked to Zeke, and he ordered the mold and all that stuff. And so the cool thing now is when you're having a whiskey, is a giant ice cube in there.
Shut
So I was like,
Are you
put that in
being
a rocks
serious?
glass. So you better watch yourself at camp, boys.
Funny.
When we're sitting out by the pool,
We got a gift for you. It's a Summit Lending rocks glass.
there you go.
No, what you do is you give it to someone who's a little hungover.
Right.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Holy cow, dude.
so-
Thank you for that.
So it kind of works as a magnifying glass because it almost looks like a toe.
It looks like a big toe.
So
right?
there's the bar in the Yukon. You've heard about the shot where you have to drink the shot and the mummified toe has to touch your lips. Look it
Oh,
up.
no.
That is a true story. Look it up. The toe show. People have sent mummified toes to this.
That's an upgrade
bar.
from down the Ozarks you drink in the minnow.
Yeah, you're not. It's plastic. Like when you're drinking it, you're not going to touch a mummified toe to your lips. It's a.
so throw that thing in the freezer.
That's amazing. Thank you for that.
You just never know what's going to happen on this
No.
show. man.
I'm
That's
so glad.
amazing.
I'm glad you
A lot of
remembered
people
that.
don't even realize it when I'm talking
Yeah.
about it, and
Right.
I can,
Wow.
so I tell kids all the time, like I can still throw strikes. I've got 4.5 fingers. What's your excuse? Let's go.
My nub can make this ball spin like no one's
So a
business.
lot of my buddies call it the narwhal.
Oh, it is because it got the horn.
Yeah, I got the little
The one horn
little
coming
horn.
out.
So I have to
That's
trim
gnarly.
that nail so it doesn't get too sharp.
Yeah, you won't
That's
be
crazy.
giving anybody wet willies.
No.
With that finger.
That keeps kids in line at camp. That keeps you don't want the wet willy with the nub at camp. No, coach. No, sir. I'll be good. I'll be good. You won't hear the no. I'm not hustling. I'm conserving energy. When you're doing
Exactly.
the wet willy with the nub.
Oh,
Here
my
comes the
God.
number. I don't know how we top
Well,
that.
before let's.
I don't know how
we
we
can't
top
top it. But you were going to
Yeah.
tell some stories about maybe ape.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
quick. So
Yeah.
two quick things. One, kudos to Emily McNeil, my fiance, is doing a 340-mile
Yeah,
kayak race
that's
from
amazing.
here to St. Louis Tuesday. Her 5th time. Kevin Apier, former Royals pitcher, he does that, and because Ape is such a strange cat, it makes sense that he's out on the river all by himself. But one ape story I'll tell, and it's he wouldn't ride in a cab with me. He called me the cockroach. He thought I was dirty and would not ride in a cab with me. So he would either make me get in the front of the cab or
Right,
in a
or not at
completely
all.
different cab.
Wow.
But I love the story of when he would go shower, he would get a towel out and look at it and look at. I mean, it had to be the perfectly clean towel before he'd take that one. So that was a process.
Okay.
And then when he would finish the shower, he would set that towel on the ground and then take his foot out of his, shower
Shower
shoes
shoes.
and then make sure he got on the towel perfectly so he didn't step on the dirty ground. And process
Wow.
again. And then about halfway through that, when he would be, going to put his underwear or something, Gooby'd come in and throw his dirty jock and hit him with it like on the side. And he'd have to start the whole process over.
No, we,
So he'd have to go back in the shower.
Oh, so it's like an OCD thing.
Oh,
like where
100%.
It's not like I just have to have this clean towel. I have to do the whole process.
Yes.
process again.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so
And-
would Gooby linger in the background and wait for him to get close? and then
He had his own stall in the shower, because he didn't want to be close to anybody else in case something bumped into it. Just hilarious, dude. He wouldn't flush the toilet like the urinal with
it's
his
dirty.
hand. He'd kick it with his
Yeah.
foot. So like kangaroo court would roll around, and we'd just bury him with fines because he wouldn't flush the toilet, or he probably wouldn't even show up for kangaroo court. And we'd say that he cussed 9 times, and we'd charge him extra. And then when he'd show up, like, hey, you owe $2,700. Okay.
He didn't even find
Right.
it.
No. And so all that money went to the end of the year party. Anyway.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's
So you guys did
Hey.
kangaroo court like as a major league clubhouse?
absolutely. That's where it all came from.
I had
Really?
no idea. Did you know
Oh, yeah.
that?
I had no. I thought they just did that to make fun of us campers because
No,
we were just old and
absolutely
did
not.
stupid stuff.
So you think it's about you guys? No, we did that stuff. That was one of our things in our clubhouse in the big leagues that nobody knows about.
Okay.
That we have given to you guys
Wow.
for fantasy
Really?
camp, because there's some things that go on at kangaroo court that can't ever find the light of day. Trust
Right.
me.
Exactly.
And so that sometimes I'm even worried at camp when it's being filmed.
Sure.
Like some things
Yeah,
that have
absolutely,
happened. In the years, we haven't had anything crazy. I mean, there's been some funny ones. You remember the
Sure.
Reggie Sanders one a couple years ago when
Tell the story.
I can't.
Oh,
Right.
I mean, I won't.
You can't do it.
I'm not gonna.
You can't
I'm
do
not
it.
gonna.
Yeah,
But there's
it's one
some
of those,
certain
yeah.
things that aren't for the general public to know.
Sure.
And that's our church.
But you guys
That's
had
our church.
but you guys had an actual judge then, right?
100%. And
So who
that,
was one of the favorite judges back in your day?
Chili Davis was a fun judge just
Okay.
because he was a vet and had been around and had been with a few different teams and had seen some things.
Right.
McFarland, of course,
he's so good.
and so Belcher. Belch had been with all 30
Yeah.
major league teams maybe at that point. Sorry, Tim.
Right.
But yeah, just those kind of things, and just fun for rookies too. And you don't know much about it because you don't do a ton of that stuff in the minor
Sure.
leagues. 'Cause
Right.
You didn't know much about it.
Dude,
Was it every day?
No. Every couple weeks.
Oh, okay.
No, once
All
a
right.
month, probably.
So you guys
once
would
or
kind of
twice a
save
month.
up for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you want that box to be full.
So
Because you guys know how it goes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I know you can't divulge anything, but so you guys would take that money, and then you would throw it into the year party, where
Yeah.
you guys just go out, hang out, barbecue, or whatever.
Barbecue.
That was-
Usually we just had it. We got a suite at the hotel that we were staying at, and then we had a team party at the in the suite at the
I bet
hotel.
that was a fun
Yeah.
party.
No, it was no fun
It's
at all.
terrible. It's terrible.
That's amazing. Exactly.
No narwhal fingers
No,
or anything.
not them.
No,
Then,
no.
Not them.
Well, cool. Well, Mr.
That's
Jamie
amazing.
Bluma,
Awesome. Thank
hey,
you,
man,
guys.
thanks for everything. Anything
Appreciate
else
it.
you want to promote or tell people to?
If you want to check out homefieldkc.com, I mean, that's with all the stuff that we've got going moving forward is great. You can always go to, I need to do a better job on my own personal website. If there's any web people out there that want to donate some time and trade out some stuff, I need to do a better job on
Right.
redwhiteandbluma.org or blumapalooza.com. They kind of mirror each other. And Bluma Palooza, September 24th.
Heck yeah.
That's it.
We'll-
Thank you, guys.
We'll absolutely do everything we can to spread the
Appreciate
word,
it.
and we appreciate you bringing all of yourself today to the show.
That's good.
I had to
Right.
surprise you guys. I know you're always
did.
trying to surprise
That was
your
good.
guests.
That was good.
That was good.
Mr.
That's
Jamie
good.
Bluma, thank you very
so
much, brother.
Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Everyone, be sure to
Appreciate you.
check us out online. We can find your podcast on Spotify, Apple, Google. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook at Always Be Cool Podcast.
Awesome.
All right.
We'll see you
Take
guys.
care, guys.
Take care.